Welcome to Ali Fitness Podcast, a weekly production all about bringing health into fitness. Dave Wright is the CEO and creator of Myzone, a physical activity heart rate monitor and system used to monitor, motivate, evidence, and increase exercise adherence. He is also, I believe, the CEO and owner of CFM, Creative Fitness Marketing, a global company with offices in the UK, Australia, and North America that has served the international fitness community since 1990. A health club operator with multiple health clubs across 2 continents, Dave is a former board director of the UK's Fitness Industry Association and international presenter of conferences such as the IHRSA and Felix. Philex, I should say. He is also featured regularly in international trade magazines such as Workout, Health Club Magazine, and the Club Business Canada. Dave is also a parent, a serial entrepreneur, and I'm told, and I do believe, I'm told by credible sources that he does not take life too seriously. And I've seen this I've actually witnessed this today. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Oh, thanks, Ali. Great to have another Antipodean on the other end of a podcast.
Yeah, and funnily enough, neither of us live in Australia at the moment. But how long have you been out of Australia for?
Oh, look, I've been out, officially out, 20 odd years. So I don't think I've really lost the Australian accent.
No, you definitely.
Neither of you?
No. So, Dave, I wanted to talk to you about your journey firstly. I know that you got into sports in a big way, as most Australians do. So tell us about how you, I guess, got into sport and what that looked like, and then how that transitioned into the fitness industry. Because I believe from credible sources that you didn't even go to a gym until you were about 20.
Well, no, that's exactly right. I think one of the advantages of disadvantages being brought up in the Australian bush is that we didn't have the luxury of gyms. We used to jump on our bikes, or in winter you did Aussie rules football because I was from Victoria. In summer you played cricket or tennis, and usually in summer you went for a run, and that's how you kept your fitness up, so that it was effectively sport ready, football ready. So we, I suppose it wasn't until I travelled around the world that you started going, hang on a minute, we might need to go to a gym, or there's actually a gym around. So
yeah, and so did you actually play competitive sports?
So I played Aussie rules. So. For want of another word, semi-professional, and I only use the word semi-professional because it paid for my beer money. And so, yeah, I used to get paid to play Aussie rules for my team, Goon, in Gippsland. And I played very competitively tennis, but not in a national standard, more of a county standard. So I sort of had the motivation growing up just to move, and played basketball, swam, just did anything that you needed to do, because growing up in the bush, it wasn't an option just to hang around, play Lego at that moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, you were very clearly very active, but when was it that you actually realised that you didn't sort of see that everyone else was quite as active as you were, and that you felt that need to help people?
So, look, I'm a bit of most entrepreneurs sort of people that take control of a situation. I know when we were 15, 16 years of age, there wasn't a basketball court to play, and the nearest idea of a basketball court was at the local tennis courts, the tennis and football grounds where they played netball and they played tennis. So we thought, okay, well, let's get together and raise money to put a basketball ring in there, so me and my mates could actually play basketball and shoot hoops. So we did that. We went around, we organised discos, got plums off our local plum tree and then went around and sold them and raised money to do that. So I suppose with anything like that, it was all about finding what the problem is and then looking for a solution and sort of like not taking no as an answer. So that was where that all stemmed from. Is I suppose I was one of those growing up in the bush that if I wanted, I'd rather look at a situation and say, hey, this doesn't sound right. Let's see what we can do to improve it. So with a few brothers, and all my brothers take the piss out of me because we'd sit there if we were carting wood. I'd be spending about half the time figuring out a more efficient way to cart wood that it would nail it. But meanwhile, their comeback for that is, whilst the time you figure that out, we've actually just gone and done it. But for next time, we would be more efficient. So I suppose it was just always looking at the situation and looking at ways that can be improved. And that's, I suppose, everything that we've done from a marketing perspective with creative fitness marketing, and then subsequently to Myzone.
Yeah, so tell us more about Myzone. How did you even come up with Myzone?
So we didn't invent heart rate monitors. I think, there's no two ways about that. Polar Electro, a company out of Finland, invented that probably about 40-odd years ago now. So I've got my own gyms, and I have a marketing company that for 29 years in 10 different countries, we've been marketing to the inactive to try and get them into gyms. So what that did is it did, and it still does, expose us to a lot of people that are not interested or feel too intimidated to go into gyms. So, I went down this route of looking at a way to try and motivate the unmotivated. We looked back in 2008, 2009, into metabolic gas analysis. If you're familiar with that, it's probably something that was mainly for the Institute of Sports and high-end triathletes. But my main aim for that was to introduce that to, Mrs. Jones, 47, 52 years of age, to actually find where they are most efficient in regards to their training intensity. So we went down this journey, there's a company called New Leaf System, and we bought one of the first systems for my gyms in the UK, and also the first ones for the ones in Australia. And the whole idea was that you would take someone up to their lactate inflection point, and then at the exact time that the glycogen was going to be used as the fuel source, you could identify where they were most efficient for using fats as fuel. And the whole plan for that is that you could actually identify a particular threshold and training modality so that they could train more efficiently. What transpired was that the actual tech itself just was not up to standard, because you'd sort of like take Mrs. Jones, who's not eaten for 24 hours, take her up to her anaerobic threshold. She's just about to pass out. She's paid you $150 and she's just about to pass out. And then you say, Mrs. Jones, I've just realised that the machine hasn't been calibrated properly. There's something wrong here. Are you able to come back tomorrow and do it all again? So, as you can appreciate, it was something that wasn't there, which effectively got into the root of saying, okay, let's try and identify some smart training. And what I was originally going to launch, with the influx of HIIT training, and bear in mind this is back in 2008, 2009, I was going to launch a group training program called Mega Training, Metabolic Enhancing Group Activity. And the whole thing of mega training, metabolic enhancing group activity, you could do a mega cycle, you could do a mega functional, you could do a mega cardio session. And it was all around high intensity interval training, matching the zone and covering the zone. So, which is what we've subsequently called zone match. Now, in my route in my pathway to try and do that, I was trying to research various heart rate monitors, and I won't say the names, but fundamentally, a lot of the big players just weren't accurate. So they weren't accurate, and so therefore, if you are really trying to track something to beat perfection in a system that can work across all platforms, it had to be accurate. And so we ended up just developing it ourselves, and there was a few things that it had to do. It had to be able to store to memory, and then to have wirelessly upload without human touch. Some of the things that we've actually got the patent on with Myzone, people said that it wasn't possible, but we were able to do that so that we could enable people to have a frictionless experience. At the time, Garmin wouldn't put the chip into Polar wouldn't put the chip into Garmin. What we decided to do is thought, hang on, let's look at the member journey. Let's look at what the member or the customer is all about. And hey, if they want to play in Strava, then let's make it so it can work with Strava. If they want to play in Garmin or Polar, then let's make the Myzone belt work with all these devices. And irrespective of what gym piece of equipment you've got, Myzone, we sort of took the approach of being completely interoperable or agnostic, for want of a better word, which effectively means if you step on a live fitness piece of equipment or a Watt bike or a Concept 2 or a Precore or Matrix or Star Trek, any of these pieces of equipment, Myzone will work with that system as well as with the chosen app that they look to play.
Yeah, that's what I love about Myzone. So just to recap there, and I assume your research was around 2008 when you were looking at these different heart rate monitors and were finding that they weren't so great. I'm sure you'd agree now that a lot of them are much better, and there are some good ones out there, like other brands, like such as, I don't know, Garmin and Polar, who also are fairly reliable now. Well, I guess that's my first question. Would you agree now that there are a lot of heart rate monitors that are the straps that are quite reliable?
Yeah, absolutely, Ali. I think the actual, and it was actually the sensor that picks it up. It was actually the strap has the textile material has come a long way in the last 10 years or 8 or 9 years, and so that's where a lot of the data loss was occurring. So I think with some of the higher end brands, but also bear in mind. Sometimes they're enough, but if you are trying to, if you're playing a game or gamification where, or you're doing a high intensity interval training session, and I'm saying to you, right, okay, I want you to hit the red zone, but the actual device is saying that you're still in, say the blue zone, because it's saying that you're still in 60%, but you should be in 90%, but the actual true reflection of your body is that you're in 90%. There's no room for error at that. That's why the accuracy is so important, rather than getting sort of like some cheap belts out of China.
Absolutely. But so Myzone isn't just a heart strap. What exactly is it, and how does it work?
So Myzone's sort of like a system. It's like that creates a logbook of all your physical activity. If you use it in a club environment, we have the telemetry display, so it actually can display your effort level on a screen. And I use the word effort rather than, I think a lot of clubs get into this whole idea of performance, and you get into this, for want of a better word, pissing contest. Myzone's all about sort of like effort, rewarding the effort. So we focus on zones. That's why I called it Myzone, because everyone's got their own different zones. It's not just about the true heart rate, because we might be at 148 beats, but it's an arbitrary figure unless you know what someone's true max heart rate is. and then we work down on zones from that. So it's easy to understand with the percentages. So in a group environment, we've got the colours, the blue, green, yellow, red, that display on the screen, which has the telemetry display to be able to, amplify the Group X experience and amplify the coaching experience for the coaches when they're running it. But then also we have the device can stream straight to a mobile phone, or indeed upload to a mobile phone post workout. So you can leave your phone at home, go for a run, do a Tough Mudder, run into the water and out or whatever, and then the belt will store it to memory. And then when it comes back and it sees the mobile phone, it will actually upload that data and create an online logbook for every single user. So that can work on an individual basis as well. And also many coaches or PTs use it to be able to, because we've got a whole social network or a social a fitness Facebook. Some press have actually referenced it, where you've actually got this social network for fitness where you are connected with other people with Myzone throughout the whole world. And whenever they have a workout, it uploads on your feed, so you can like, comment, and sort of like stay connected, which is where a lot of the actual trainers utilize that. So they can assign homework to their customers, and they can remote train people no matter where they are in the world, because as soon as that person's had a workout, they can actually see it almost in real time on their own phone.
Great. And so do you actually need to be able to work out what your maximum heart rate is in order to use Myzone, or does that happen automatically?
So it actually, as soon as you register it, it asks you your height, your weight, gender, and it will calculate your max heart rate from there. So we use the Hunt formula, which is 211 times 0.64 of your age, which is the largest study on max heart rate. So, and then it actually updates into the system. Now, it's only your estimated max heart rate is only sort of like, I mean, as we all know, and if I was to sort of like get something across to everyone, is that your max heart rate's not your fitness, it's your resting heart rate and how quickly you recover. I do have to say that many times because I still think that there is a lot of, say, health club operators or personal trainers out there who sort of like get all excited thinking they've got a high max heart rate, so they must be a elite athlete. But your fitness is your resting heart rate, how quickly you recover. But so your max heart rate will be defined, and then the zones, the 10% increment zones, will be worked down from that. Now, if you, let's just say that your age predicted max heart rate puts you at 150, Ali, and you push that up to, you do a session and you're going up to 158. And if you've held that for 40 seconds at 158, then Myzone self-calibrates and resets your max heart rate to 158.
Great.
So, yeah, which is, which I mean, gosh, we think it's fundamental and important to make sure that you're always in your zone or my zone. And it's actually the only system in the world that does that.
I was going to say that's unheard of, because obviously people are getting fitter and they're increasing their maximum heart rate, and no one, and so if they stay in those zones and don't sort of get that calibrated properly, then it's not going to be as effective. So that's amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean the thing is your max heart rate won't really change over time, but what will change is that if the figure's wrong, and when I say it won't change over time, it might go down a beat each year, but more importantly is that if it's wrong in the first place, you could be training down the wrong alleyway because your actual max heart rate is wrong. On the other side is if your max heart rate is lower than your age predicted one, then that's something that your coach or a member at the gym should be able to see, because they might say, okay, you're absolutely busting the gut, but your you're not being able to, get out of, into the green or yellow. So in that case, we have a provision that a trainer or a professional can actually reduce the max heart rate, so that and particularly if someone's on beta blockers as well, you can reduce that max heart rate so that it's a true reflection of the person.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'd been to several spin classes, and to be honest, they're quite random as to how good they're going to be. And then I went to a Fitness First, and I'd been to other Fitness Firsts and they didn't have this. And then I went into this one where the coach obviously really knew how to use Myzone. And it was the first time I came across it. And I've got to say, it was the best ever spin class I'd ever done, because he was obviously very good at using it. But the beauty about it was that people were getting into their yellow, which is, yellow for me is different for yellow for you, but we're both in yellow, which means we're both working hard. And, I really loved the way you can use Myzone, and like you said, it's Myzone, for everyone to get an effective workout. But more importantly to me, that accountability piece, and the relevancy, and like I've heard you say too, and that then leads to the motivation piece. I don't understand why all gyms wouldn't do that.
Look, we're working on it. The fundamental point is that if you imagine, and being in the health club industry for a significant amount of time, we're sort of like famous for, one brush fits all, one size fits all. And we sort of like, we worry, and we wonder why we're not really pushing through that 15 to 16% penetration rate. And that's because we're doing classes that might be great for one person. They might be too easy for another. They might be too hard for someone else. If you've got a bunch of people and you sit there and say, okay, there's 20 people in the room, we're going to go for a 20-minute run around the block, same pace, same distance, same age or thereabouts, it's physiologically impossible for people to have the same experience. Yet that's what happens in gyms every single day. But if we were to sit there and say, okay, we're going to do 20 minutes around the block, we're all going to be in the yellow zone. Ali, you might be running for 20 minutes at, I don't know whether have you migrated to miles or kilometres? You're still at miles. You're at miles, are you?
Either works.
Okay, so you're running at, say 10 miles an hour out there. I might be brisk walking at 6 miles an hour, but we're both in our yellow zone, and that's the so we're both having the same physiological experience. And guess what? When we finish that, we both feel the same. Now you ran a lot faster, but that's fine. There's two main training principles to training. One is myotheory, which is the Greek god who put the calf on his shoulder and he went up the hill, and as the calf progressively grew, he was able to build up to lift a bull on his shoulders. That's the weight training mythology of progressive overload. The other one is the SAID principle, which is the specific adaptation of imposed demand. And the SAID principle is all about that, and it's mainly cardiovascular, that your body adapts to that implied demand by lowering your actual effort level. So if you were to say to someone, jump on a treadmill and cycle at 6 miles an hour, or walk at 6 miles an hour, and that's all they ever did, the result on that is that their effort level would go. So at that 6 miles an hour on the treadmill would become easier. And that's why people are not getting the results that they want. If we were to sit there and say, okay, Ali, I want you to jump on the treadmill, and for 20 minutes I want you to be in the green zone, which might be it's 70 to 80% effort. You might start off at just going at 4 miles an hour, but then as your body is adapted to that imposed demand, to maintain that green zone, that 70% effort, you may have to up the speed to 6 miles an hour, then 7 miles an hour. So it's sort of like a reverse about way to focus on effort rather than the fitness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. And I like it much more than, people's perceived effort, because perception and it just doesn't normally work too well. So I like this this MEPs, what you call the Myzone Effort Points. But I did have a question about that. So if you're working in the yellow or red zone, then you get like 4 points, because that's like a hard amount of effort. And then if you're in a low effort zone, you get like 1 point. And so these points obviously add up over time. And I can imagine, especially A-type personalities, going out there and trying to get as many MEP points as they can for the day or for the week. Surely that would cause overtraining. Is there any sort of way to avoid that? Or does Myzone have any recovery tips or sort of plans to sort of stop that from happening?
Yeah, great question. As a society, we're not really struggling with overtraining, but it's more the undertraining. But in the way that, just to clarify, the way that the Myzone Effort Points, the MEPs work is that anything in effort for less than 50% effort, you get 0 MEPs per minute. In the grey zone, which is 50 to 60, you get 1 point per minute. Blue, 60 to 70, 2. Green, 3. 70 to 80 is 3 points. And then both yellow and red are 4 points per minute. So what we're effectively saying is we're sacrificing time for effort. So if you've only got 30 minutes and you wanted to earn as many points in that 30 minutes as well, you could get in the yellow zone, which is 80 or above, and you could earn 120 points. Now, if you wanted to earn 120 points in the grey zone, i.e. Walking, you've got to walk for an hour and 20 minutes. So that's the 120 minutes, shall I say, 2 hours. To answer your question in regards to overtraining, when we have challenges, and we highly recommend operators not to do just red zone challenges, because it drives me crazy and I don't want people to have myocardial infarctions. But what if there is a time that you want to identify and say, okay, I don't want to encourage overtraining. So what you can do is you can have a blue and green zone challenge, which means you only get credited for points to a challenge if they are between 60 and 79%. So anything harder than that are not included in your challenge. So there's so many different ways that you can use the system to be able to encourage training and also disencourage overtraining.
Excellent. And I guess as yourself, you could look at, okay, I only want to be in the red zone for X amount of time per week. So I'm going to check back and make sure I've done that. And so I guess there's lots of different ways you can use that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're actually doing is we're just creating probably for the first time ever, a real live online logbook of all your physical activity, whether you run, jump, skip, go to the gym, run outside, play on Strava, just do anything that you want to move, walk your dog, line dance, anything at all. Every time your heart beats, when you're exercising, and Myzone's not an all-day monitor, so Myzone's not something that you would wear 12, 13, 14 hours a day. It's something that's designed for physical activity in bouts of 10 minutes or more. And we did that based on the World Health Organization guidelines to measure physical activity, which is 150 minutes of moderate or 75 minutes of vigorous activity per week in bouts of 10 minutes or more. And with the Myzone system, I suppose what we've done is we've correlated that with Myzone Effort Points. So each week, when you achieve 300 Myzone Effort Points, you get a wonderful email to say, congratulations, you've achieved the World Health Organization guidelines. Keep going.
Great. So this is a bit of a random question, but is there any chance that the strap might be replaced with another form of heart rate monitor, like around the wrist, or do you think that the accuracy just isn't there?
not with the wrist. The PPG, or optical, as it's often referred to, is it's not a matter that it's technology getting in the way. It's actually physiology, and because the difference between a strap and a optical blood flow is that it's shine what a wrist-based thing does is it shines a light through the wrist. It sees the blood flowing up through the capillaries, and it predicts what the actual heart rate is doing, which is great if your wrist is stationary and there is, as long as it's a repeatable and predictable movement of the wrist. So for walking, because what happens is blood flushes through your veins, and that blood is sort of like that blood slushing through distracts the noise from what the blood flushing through of a heartbeat is. However, there's been quite clever algorithms to say, hang on a minute, that arm is jolting up and down. They must be running, so let's remove that noise. And then we say, hey, that's what the heart rate is. And that's pretty good up to about 150 beats. But anything above that, say higher intensity, it just can't catch the beats, so it can't be accurate. Or if there is a predictable, non-repeatable movement of the wrist, i.e. you pick up a kettlebell, you jump on some battle ropes, you hit a tennis ball, you do a Zumba class with your hands. So the simple reality of it is that you have so many black spots in your data. What we've sort of like done in regards to Myzone, we have a sports bra. So we've launched a couple of sports bras so that females and some men can actually wear a sports bra, and that there as a good form factor. Typically women have to wear sports bras anyway when they exercise. So we've sort of like, and then the actual module. So it has the sensors built into the sports bra, and then you have the module that buttons on. We also built a T-shirt for men, and so we do have that. It's one of those that's not really that not that good, because at the end of the day, it's got to be at such a tight level that you are very restricted unless you're absolutely ripped. But then what you typically do is you're having to put another T-shirt over the top anyway, so it defeats the actual purpose. But certainly, I mean, I sound like I'm trying to poo-poo it, but it's just there's so many different torso lengths, and the strap sort of like, a lot of people sort of like go, you know what, it's just as easy to put the strap on. But for the women, the sports bra is actually a solution there. Where the tech will go to, is a chip that's embedded into your skin. That's where it'll be, maybe in about 10 or so years' time. So it'll be just embedded into your skin, and you don't need to worry about that at all.
Awesome. And Dave, you touched upon this a bit already, but Myzone integrates with a lot of different apps and a lot of different other products, I believe. So what about someone who, I don't know, like they've got the Apple Watch or, some other device? What would be the benefit in having Myzone as well, and how would they integrate that?
Yeah, so we had the app on the Apple Watch, one of the very first companies to actually have the app on the as a application on the watch, which means you would still wear your strap, your heart rate, the Myzone strap, and then your tile would appear on your Apple Watch. So it works well, just mainly if you want to leave your phone at home, or if you just want to go for a run and you want to listen to your Bluetooth music from your Bluetooth speakers. So you could actually have your Myzone belt on with the actual tile appearing on your Apple Watch, and you're listening to your music whilst you're going for a run without having to carry your watch. So that's where that works. And we also do the same for Android. So Android users as well, they can they can actually do the same. So we've got an app for the Android watches, and also Samsung. So the latest Samsung's Myzone is the only heart rate monitor in the world that is on the Samsung platform on the watches. So therefore, you can wear your Samsung watch and your Myzone strap, and your tile will effectively appear on the watch. The benefits of that combination is outside. So there's general activity, which is what you can say measure during the day, and actual physical activity. So what we do is we sort of look after the exercise part of your day, and those other watches. I was going to say they measure the other 23 hours of the day, but there isn't the battery to support that. So they measure the other 7.5, 8 hours of the day, depending on how much battery life you can get out of the actual watches. But that's where they come. They come really well. So if you want a higher fidelity in regards to the reading, you would just put your Myzone belt on, and the actual tile would appear on the Apple Watch.
Excellent. And in terms of aggregating all the data, what do you personally recommend? Like, for example, some people use Strava, other people use Training Peaks. Incidentally, do you integrate with Training Peaks?
We are working on that at the moment. The difference is that Myzone works with Garmin, and Garmin feeds into to Training Peak. So a lot of the Training Peak users are typically Garmin users, because they've got probably the best GPS and devices on the market.
Well, I guess yeah, I was just going to say indirectly you do anyway, because if you integrate with Strava integrates with Training Peaks, and that all can happen automatically. So indirectly you do actually already integrate.
And Apple Health and all that as well. So, but the big thing with what we've decided to do is let people play in their own platform. So if people want to hang in Strava, they can hang in Strava. If people want to hang in MapMyFitness or Nike Run or whatever platform they do, we're okay for it, because you can't really force anyone to play in any form of platform. What we just want to be is the data collecting device of choice, because it's interoperable and agnostic and can work with everyone. So that's the fundamental. We want to be identified as that device that is accurate, and that can actually collect it, has memory. So if you go under the water, it will store it to memory and come out, and so you effectively won't miss a beat.
Awesome. So does that mean swimmers can use it as well?
It is waterproof. But swimmable is a different thing, because it will end up around your ankles, particularly when you do a kickoff. It works really well for aquarobics. It works well for people doing Tough Mudders and Spartans, or even people that have got a wetsuit on. So therefore, it doesn't break the connection, so the water can't get in between the strap and your chest.
But can it take an effective heart rate beat even underwater?
Yeah, of course. As long as it there isn't it's the actual flow of water underneath. So if you're doing aquarobic, what it won't do is it won't telemetry display, but it'll actually store to the module.
Got you. Okay. And the thing I like about it is that that piece where it's measurable in a class setting, where you can actually see other people's, even though you're not sort of comparing yourself, but it's actually nice to see, oh, look, everyone's there in the same zone and that sort of thing. Where, as a participant of, say, I wanted to do a spin class, is there a website I can go to find out where my closest Myzone spin class is?
No. There isn't.
That's your homework, Dave.
It's a great question. It's a great question. We've got probably 7,500 facilities around the world that use Myzone, and it's one of those that we've not gone out there and advertised, because typically we are a B2B for a C product. So fundamentally, the way that you would get your belt, your Myzone belt, is through the facility. That's mainly why that focus has been on that B2B basis.
And I've noticed some facilities sell them, and they also don't even some even don't sell them, but actually let you use theirs. Is there a way now though that consumers can actually just go and buy their own and then go to different Myzone classes and use it themselves?
Absolutely. I mean, you can buy Myzone online, or through a code from a facility that might be advertising a special code, and then no matter which facility that you walk into, you pop in there, your name, once it's registered, will pop straight up on the screen. And it's up to the facilities on what they do and how they run the class. We sort of certainly believe that there will be a time in the not distant future. In the early days, you would look at it and say, okay, a competitive advantage is that we have Myzone. I'm not too sure that that's a competitive advantage. It's like saying a competitive advantage is that we have kettlebells. I think the competitive advantage is how you deploy Myzone, and that's where I think there will get to a point when consumers sit there and say, okay, they've got 10 people in this town that all have Myzone. Who deploys it the best? Who engages with it the most? Who is it that coaches with it and provides the most engaging experience with that? They're the ones that I think will have a better experience.
So if I'm a gym operator and I want to get Myzone into my gym, or I already have it, but I don't feel like my coaches really know how to use it properly, how would I go about sort of fixing that?
Yeah, great question. I would say that the big thing about that is to focus on. We've launched Myzone University. Everyone should have their own account support person, account manager, no matter whether it's remote or local. But shoot an email to support@myzone.org with your facility and facility number. And what we're doing around the globe at the moment is we are putting on Myzone University courses. So Myzone U, which is our full-day educational course, to be able to help as many instructors and operators around the world just to be and use Myzone to its full. Because we are effectively a tech company, from within the industry, we sort of like a moving at a pace, constantly updating, constantly new features, because of being able to have the good fortune of getting great feedback from operators around the world, and then sort of like acting on those.
And obviously there are a lot of gyms using Myzone in different ways. What are the best ways to use it? I mean, like, what I mean is, like, say, a spin class or a...
Look, I think the best way is in group functional training. So any club wanting to create their own boutique style offering, like many of the boutique style operators that are getting out there now, what Myzone is effectively doing is giving any operator the opportunity to provide a boutique offering within their facility. And we provide help, support, advice, and even the programs so that any operator can provide their own offering. It works well. with cycling as well. So it works really well in the cycle room. It works well in the Group X room. It works well in the cardio when you're doing group training. So anything where you want people to be working out together and and you want to reward the effort that they're putting in, that's where I think that's where the real rubber hits the road. And when the operators are utilising that sort of like data to their advantage, it's, the way I like to sort of like say it is that it's, you've got some phenomenal data there that would, absolutely help engage customers. And if we engage with our customers as operators, as personal trainers, if the more that we engage with our customers, the longer that they're going to stay with us, and subsequently the more money that we pay, the longer that we engage with a PT client, and the better the relationship we have with them, then the more that they're going to stay connected with you. And it's a pretty simple formula. So what Myzone does is it just gives you the data and the tools to be able to better understand, report, and engage with your customers. But the question is, though, Ellie, as you know, being the professional that you are, there's something about talking about it, and then there's another thing about actually doing.
Yeah. And look, I've heard of Myzone gyms using the data as like an award system, like you mentioned, sort of like having a competition. Is there a way that you could, can the actual gym get access to everyone's Myzone data, and then say, for example, whoever gets the most MEP points this month wins whatever?
That's exactly what they can do. And that's exactly what most clubs do, is having various challenges, having various competitions, and being able to present them with the database on the true results, even if they've not even seen their customers, because people can upload no matter where they are around the world, and you can actually have access to that data.
That's awesome. So, Dave, where to from here with Myzone and I guess Myzone competitors and the whole world of digital measurements and AI? What's your prediction?
Look, I think everyone that has, and this is gym equipment as well, I think everyone that has seen the huge valuations of companies such as Peloton and these coaching apps is providing a very interesting environment out there. I think that in regards to the whole Myzone play, we still remain to be a B2B for a C offering. We've just launched, as in the last 72 hours, we've just launched for a 3D body scanning app. So it's that can actually do a 3D body scan of a user and produce their 3D image straight into the app, so that they've got a sense of progress. We've launched things such as booking apps and membership card systems straight through to the app. So therefore, helping operators and customers to have a more frictionless experience with the health club operator that they work with. We've created WhatsApp style messaging such as MZ Chat, so that operators can, and their trainers can, sort of like stay connected and communicate with their clients without them taking them outside the four walls of the club, such as a PT who might have 20 clients, but those 20 clients are set up in a private WhatsApp group that is almost devoid of the facility. So therefore, they move to another facility. The communication mechanism that the PT has with their customer is no different. It's just that they're meeting at a different spot. So we've all built all this within the Myzone app, and we sort of like will continue to do that chat bots is another very interesting thing. But I suppose the big thing, Ali, is that we have an enormous amount of data that we can actually help operators to actually identify any changes in their exercise behaviour, and then enable the operators to be able to jump straight onto it to say, hey, Ali, do you realise that Simon looks like he's about to stop exercising and fall out of love with you? Now's the good time for you to jump on and motivate him to come back into the club and still train. Now, that's by passing that data over to the clubs, or alternatively, if the clubs would like us to, we can actually step in and intervene to sort of like help motivate that person to continue to exercise. Because fundamentally, Myzone's overall mission is to help people feel good about exercise, whether it's before, during, or after the event. So everything that we do, everything that we plan, everything that we develop sits that at the core, is helping people to feel good about exercise.
Absolutely. And I love that measurable piece as well. I mean, as a personal trainer, watching a client, I mean, you're only with the client for an hour or 2 hours a week, but being able to see what they've done outside of that time and their actual effort level can really help you plan your next session with them, depending on what they really need. So
absolutely.
So that's awesome. It's exciting. And, wow, you've come a long way, and I'm excited to see what happens. And I didn't know about that 3D body image thing. That's huge. And so just on that, people can actually do their 3D body image on their own phone through that app.
So no, they'll need a iPad and a structure sensor. So ideally, it's for a PT who's a member at a facility, or a facility that has a Myzone facility license. Then all they do is just grab an iPad and this particular structure sensor, and it's free. So there's no extra costs or subscriptions or anything like that for a licensed facility. You buy the sensor, which is about $400. Plug it onto your iPad and download the app, and then there you can start scanning your clients, and the data goes straight up into their app. So you can actually evidence the results that you're helping them to achieve visually.
Awesome. That's great. Dave, I'm wary of your time, so I will let you go, but I've got to ask you a bit of a personal question. Slightly random, but
yeah.
Do you have a tattoo?
I do not have a tattoo.
Why
do you ask?
I honestly thought you were going to tell me you had a Myzone tattoo for a second. Have you? It's just a question we ask all the guests on the show. Have you thought about one before, or?
Look, in 1994, when I first went to America, I left the country town of Nanagoon, and the first thing I was going to do was land into Los Angeles and get a tattoo on my arm. It was going to be a Maori tribal style tattoo, and so that I could be different. And when I landed in LA, I looked around at the time and realized if I don't have a tattoo, I look different. So I opted not to. How about yourself, Ali? Have you got a tattoo?
That's good. No, not as yet. That's awesome. That's a really good story, Dave. Thanks for sharing that, and thank you for letting us know all about Myzone. And it's a really exciting space to watch. And thanks for doing everything you've done so far.
Oh, good on you, Ali. Thank you very much for taking the time to spread knowledge to the world.
For all the resources and show notes from today's episode, please go to www.ali.fitness. If you liked today's episode, please show your appreciation by going to iTunes, give us a 5-star review and subscribe.